Welcome to Brandy Speaks. Today I have my good friend, Erin Lacy. She is my personal friend, prayer partner, personal trainer, and also accountability because you got to have that. But today we are going to have a fun conversation, and I invited Erin to talk about our health and how to prioritize it because she has had years, a decade of experience encouraging women in this area. And so her fitness philosophy, this is super important, and I love this about you, is it is discipline over motivation, persistence over perfection, and this is something that you know to be true because you've done it in your own life. Yeah. So you're speaking from experience. Yeah. I want you to know that Erin has competed in over 20 bodybuilding competitions, specifically in the bikini division, placing top 5 in many of them. That is something to be proud of for sure. And you've also learned what works and what doesn't. And we can benefit from that knowledge. So we're thankful that you've gone before us.
Thank you.
You can help us all. And you also believe that there's not just one way to fitness. And I think that's important because we are all so different. So welcome, Erin Lacy.
Thank you, Brandy. Happy to be here. Happy to have this conversation with you guys.
Me too. Okay, so we're going to dive in. So today we are talking about how to avoid a health crisis. And the way we do that is by prioritizing our health. So Erin, the problem is that I've seen and what you've seen is people struggle to be intentional with their health until they face a health crisis. And Dr. Kenneth Cooper, who I love and who's an expert in preventive medicine, has said that it is easier to maintain good health than to regain it once it's lost. And unfortunately, we don't really pay attention to our health until we've lost some aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, people, we really want you to understand that there is an urgency to make a change before you get to this place where it feels like things are unraveling too fast. Right. So Erin, give us some examples of some intentional things we can do each day to prioritize our health before a crisis.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm happy to have this conversation because I feel like with health issues, it's so easy to push it under the rug and say, I'll deal with that later. I'll start living healthy tomorrow or on Monday, or oh, this is hereditary. My mom has it. I have it. It's just the way it is.
Yes.
But I want to encourage all of our listeners or people who are watching that you have more control over your health and fitness than you actually believe.
That's so true.
And so it's time for us to gain back that control. And so talking about things that we can start doing to prevent a health crisis. Well, one of them would be, just like you said, to live proactively and not waiting around for the red flags or for a health crisis. And when we say health crisis, we don't always mean like you're in a hospital bed in the ICU. It could mean like chronic migraines or chronic bloating or unable to bring your arms up above your head without pain. These can be health crises, right?
Yes,
and
for
so
sure.
One thing we have to do is to live proactively instead of reactively, like giving our bodies what they need before they ask us.
Yes.
Because your body will eventually beg you for what it needs. So it's up to us to service our bodies, and it's kind of like a plant. Like you grow a seed, you expect it to grow because you're giving it its basic needs. You put it in the soil, you give it some water, you put it in the sun, it gets the sunshine, it gets the food from the air, and then you expect it to grow because it has its basic needs. We are like plants with muscles.
I love it. Plants with muscles.
Yes, we need those. We need basic stuff that we kind of take for granted or are simply not prioritizing, like getting your steps in, right? Living a more active lifestyle. This is a basic need. Eating nutritious, nutrient-dense foods and getting the vitamins that you're supposed to be getting through your food. We have to be proactive in these things instead of waiting till we are in the ICU to think about changing those healthy habits. So
it's true.
We are plants with muscles, right? The second thing we have to do, here's what we can't do. We can't wait for motivation.
I love that. It's true.
Or wait for a health crisis. Either one, you just can't wait for, because motivation will fail you every single time.
Agreed.
It's a good way to get started. Motivation could be a good way to get started on a healthy fitness journey or start implementing some healthy habits. But it's obedience and discipline that's going to keep us going.
Yeah.
And when we fall off, if we just keep waiting for new motivation to help us stay consistent, we won't make any progress, right? So we can't wait for motivation. We have to do the next right thing, whether we feel like it or not.
Yeah, because if you're waiting for motivation, it's always 2 steps forward, like 5 steps back.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So despite how you feel about it, doing the next healthy choice, whether you feel motivated to do so or not, whether you think you have it in you or not, just to take that next step. And then the third thing would be to just act intentionally.
Yeah.
Just kind of putting all this together. Act intentionally with your choices. Prioritize your time well. So those basic needs, eating nutritious, clean foods 91% of the time,
Yeah.
getting your steps in, challenging your muscles. These are basic needs that we need to prioritize, and you're not selfish for doing that. We have
That's
a
right.
responsibility to be the caregivers of our bodies so that we can care for others better and more optimally. And so it's our responsibility to prioritize our time and take control of our
Absolutely.
schedule.
Yeah.
And just
right.
simply take control of our life.
That's right.
We can't let laziness or binge eating or sickness creep up on us.
That's good.
It's our responsibility to nip that in the bud and take care of it. And that could be hiring a coach, prepping food,
Yeah.
writing in your schedule when you're going to work out, meeting with a friend to get your steps in every day. These are all daily things that we can start implementing right now.
So the point number 1 is we are going to live proactively, not reactively.
Yes.
We are not going to wait for motivation. We are going to do the next right thing when we need to do it, not because we're motivated, but because we're building that discipline muscle. And we're going to act intentionally because it's not going to happen if we don't make it happen.
Right.
Essentially. Okay, so I'd love to have just some examples because some of us really can connect to examples with each of these. So give the listeners an example of how do we live proactively and not reactively?
So a way that we can live proactively is feeding our body what it needs. Like if we're the plant and we need the oxygen and the food, the good nutritious food that comes from a good source, that is a way to treat our bodies with natural medicine.
Yes,
like giving our bodies what the medicine from the nutrients of the foods that we're eating instead of waiting for a doctor to prescribe medicines for this pain or that joint or that ache. These are the types of things that we can be doing. So getting your steps in, eating clean, green, leafy foods is a must. Like adding spinach on top of your food every day could be a good intentional healthy habit that you can start doing right now that has so many benefits.
Yes, it does.
If you guys just look up some superfoods like blueberries and chia seeds and things like that you get more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So what you're feeding your body is super duper important, and what kind of lifestyle you're leading. A lot of the times when we're taking control of our schedule, sometimes it means dropping activities or maybe waiting for the next season to be busy with this, that, or the other. Because health is important and it's a priority, and we have to put it in our schedule as one.
Yeah.
And then kind of put everything else around the basic needs. Like, okay, well, this is my workout time, so I'm not going to plan anything else during this workout time because it's very important, and I know me, and if it's not scheduled, I'll just kind of do it whenever, or it won't get done, or I'll say I'll get it done after the kids go to bed, and it won't. So prioritizing and scheduling it in your Google Calendar.
Yes.
Color coding it. That always helps for me.
Right. And so one time when we talked about this, you gave an example, and I love, but it's like a waitress, right? So she, if she's a great waitress, she will proactively get you what you need before you ask. And so you have said before that we have to give our body what it needs before it starts asking.
Yeah, you don't want to wait for your tables to ask and for you to get in the weeds, and now they need straws and they need napkins and they need their drinks refilled. Like you want to give them what they need before they even know that they need it, right? In order to turn your tables and make more money and make everyone happy and make it run smoothly. It's the same for your body. go ahead and give it what it needs. You already know what it needs.
That's right. That's
you
right.
already know you need to be getting more steps in and moving more. You already
Yep.
know you need to challenge your muscles by lifting weights or doing body weight strength exercises.
Yeah.
You already know you need vitamin C and vitamin D and all the good nutritious foods. So go ahead and give it what it needs, whether you feel like you're
So true.
seeing the results right away
Yeah.
or not, whether you think, oh, is this the right diet or not? Well, just eat healthy, just eat clean, green, leafy foods more often, more protein and things like that. And you will begin to see those little incremental changes turn into something much bigger and much greater.
Absolutely. So as far as not waiting for motivation, what would you say is a real way we can do that? Like, how would you tell a client if they're like, oh, Erin, I'm not motivated to make a change?
Well, I would.
If we're not supposed to wait for motivation, and we're supposed to do it from discipline, because we know motivation might get you going, but it's not going to keep you going.
Yeah.
Right? So discipline will keep you going.
Yeah.
So how can we not wait for that, I guess, some people might be sitting around just saying, I'm waiting to feel motivated to make a change. But you're saying, hey, don't wait for that.
Yeah, don't wait for that, because discipline is like a muscle that you have to build and grow.
So many muscles.
And it does. I know everything is a muscle. I relate everything back to muscles. And it might start out like a little puny muscle, but the more you work it, the more you practice in your willpower and your strength to say no to certain things, then that discipline grows, your obedience grows. It actually does get easier with time. I won't ever say it's easy.
Yeah.
You're always going to struggle with something or other, but you have to know that going in. Like, there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be struggles, there's going to be things that obstruct my plan. So I know right now I can't solely wait for everything to be smooth and ready. I can't wait for my desire, my wants, and my motivation to be there, because you have to know going in that that's fleeting, and that will fail you. So you have to go in with some sort of plan.
Yes.
If you can't come up with a plan on your own, or you're having trouble navigating, because there's a lot of programs out there's a lot of diets out there, you're not expected to know. Well, this is a good time to find help.
It's true.
It doesn't have to be expensive. It could be as simple as researching online. It could be finding a free program that you find in a magazine, or calling up a friend and asking if she wants to get together and hold it. You guys hold each other accountable for eating better or getting more steps in. So you find a plan, and then you stick to the plan.
So the plan helps with the discipline, and you don't really need motivation if you've got a plan. That's
Absolutely.
what you're saying.
Yep.
I like that. Okay. So the next, give us some quick tips. How can we be intentional? So we are supposed to be proactive and not reactive. If we're moving, if we're shifting our attitude and we're prioritizing our health, we have to be proactive, not reactive. We have to have a plan so that we can overcome our demotivated attitudes. And so then the third thing is we have to be intentional. And so we have to do some things intentionally to make our health a priority, so that we can avoid health issues down the road. What are just 3 things that you would say we can do to act intentionally?
Well, some people say like, oh, Erin, I'm too busy to work out. Like, I don't have time. I have to drive the kids here and there, and I just have all these things going on in my life, all these programs that I'm in, whatever, and I don't have time to work out. And if that's the case, then you are too busy. Like, if you say you're too busy to work out, you are too busy, and something has to give. So to be in charge of your schedule, to be in charge of your life, and to act intentionally could mean looking at your schedule, doing an inventory of your schedule and your habits, and deciding what has to go.
That's tough.
So acting intentionally is putting your priorities first and making sometimes the hard decisions. Not every season. You can't do everything in every season.
That's true.
Right? Sometimes you want to progress in your fitness. Sometimes you just want to maintain. And there's also going to be seasons where you're not necessarily progressing as fast as you want to. And that's okay. You have to realize what season you're in. But another way you can act intentionally is to, like, okay, say you know the kids have baseball practice every Wednesday. Like you already know that's going to happen. It's on the schedule. It's ongoing. Well, then you know Tuesday night you have to get the frozen meat out. You have to maybe prepare it a little bit earlier to have dinner ready so that you don't get caught in a pickle where you have to go through a drive-through or rely on fast food or just giving the kids gas station snacks or something because everyone's starving. You just don't want to be caught in those positions. You want to be in charge of your schedule and make intentional choices. It's going to set you up for success.
Yes, that's true.
So look at the days ahead. Take Sunday night maybe and look at the days coming up ahead. Look at your schedule. Decide what needs to happen, what food needs to be ready at this time, what schedule change needs to happen so that you can make your workout happen. Do you need to go to bed earlier so that you can wake up earlier? These are intentional choices and decisions that we have to make for ourselves because we are responsible for our own health in more ways than we can imagine.
Did you hear that? You are responsible for your own health. You really, really are. And nobody can make you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody can.
Yeah.
You just have
I remember I told you about that sign I saw in the bathroom one time at a chiropractor's office that just always stuck with me. And it said, your health affects everyone around you.
Yeah.
Family members, friends, even strangers. Your health affects everyone. Yeah. So it's not selfish to take responsibility for your health.
I like that.
In fact, it's very loving and giving to take responsibility for your own health.
That's great. That is so true. Okay, so Erin, I know you've seen this and you can speak to us and encourage us, but there are warning signs that pop up throughout our age ranges, right? So there are red flags in your 20s and in your 30s and in your 40s and 50s and 60s and so on, where your body will tell you what it needs. And so we were talking about, hey, let's give our body what it needs before it tells us. But look, we're not always great at that. So when we miss it, God has made our bodies so amazingly that our bodies will tell us what we need. So Erin, what are some red flags in the 20s that pop up that you've seen or maybe experienced that indicate, hey, you need to maybe reevaluate some things or something needs to change? What are some of those things in the 20s? And you can just go on from there, the 30s and so on.
Okay, so I can definitely speak for the 20s because I've been there. And, in your 20s, your body is adapting to real life and to the new life stresses. And so your body does start talking to you at that point. You may not think anything of it, but this is the time to nip it in the bud and listen to those red flags. One of them is bloating. Bloating is a red flag that is not, it's very common, but it's not normal. And that's something that we should be looking into. If you're bloated all the time, if you're bloated almost daily, then it could be a gut issue, something in your digestive system, maybe you need a probiotic or a prebiotic. Is there a food that you're eating that's inflammatory to you personally? These are things that we need to look into. Constant fatigue, because in your 20s, you shouldn't have constant fatigue in your 20s, but if you do, then that would be a red flag, then that something is missing. Maybe it's a hydration issue or something like that. Acne is just a clue that something might be off. Like I said, very, very common, but it's not necessarily good or normal, and things that we should look for. Migraines, headaches, right? Stress headaches, not normal, not good. Poor posture is one. Let's just sit up a little taller here because we're in our 30s and we know better now.
That's right. You got to sit up straight, ladies.
But in your 20s, you're trying to figure out who you are. You might be lacking in some self-confidence. You might have some identity issues. When you walk into a room, maybe you're automatically like kind of caved in, shoulders roll forward. And these are just things to look for and notice. And pass yourself in the mirror and you find yourself rounded. Maybe you can roll it back and lift your chin a little bit, lift your chest a little bit. But this could cause issues in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. So that's things that we need to try to correct as best we can right now. We don't have to perfect it, but what about a weak immune system? Even in your 20s, that can be a red flag. Even if it's just a cold, if you're always getting a cold, I mean, it's not normal. It's common, but it's not normal, and you have to kind of reevaluate your habits. Hey, why why am I always susceptible to getting colds all the time? Why
good
isn't my body
question.
able
Yeah.
to fight this off like it should? So that's a red flag. And the best way to gain awareness of your body, of your physical body, is to move.
That's good.
Is to get
Yeah.
moving. Don't
Yeah.
wait till you feel overweight. Don't wait till you are not fitting into your pants anymore. Get into the gym or get into a workout program now. Start moving your body, because
Yes.
then you're going to start to find out what your imbalances are.
Yeah, it's true.
And you're going to just gain more awareness of your physical body. So the only way to do that is to get moving, right?
Yes, that's good. That's really good.
So in the 30s, I can also speak to, because I'm almost 35 now. So these are things that I can personally attend to. But these body imbalances that you've had for 30 years now, they're gonna start talking to you.
I like that.
in your 30s.
Louder.
They're gonna start
right?
talking louder. Before, it might have been like, oh, here and there. You might have had a pain here and there. In your 20s, you think nothing of it because it goes away, right?
Yeah.
You hurt
Yes.
your knee, you hurt your ankle. It's better in 2 days. When you're in your 30s, it starts to talk louder. It starts to be more prevalent if you don't do anything about it. More
Sure.
constant, right?
Ooh, yeah.
So chronically tight muscles, that's a red flag. If you're always tight in your neck, if you're always tight in your hips and you can't seem to, you don't just say, oh, I have tight hips. Or,
Right.
I have bad knees. No, if you have these chronic aches and pains, that's a red flag that you may need to seek help. And the 30s can be super stressful too, because you got bills, kids. A lot of us are starting families. You still have to, you're still involved in a lot of the community. You're still trying to put out this facade on social media. It can be very stressful being in your 30s, right? And so we tend to neglect ourselves a little bit because we're taking care of our families and things like that. But what about like dry, leathery skin is a red flag.
I've had
in
like
your
all
30s.
of these things.
All of these things I've had like this week. So I'm not I'm not saying that I'm
Our bodies
excluded.
are talking to us.
They're talking to us.
Thank God.
And I love that God made it that way, because when I do look in the mirror, my skin feels leathery, my pores are huge, maybe like over oil production and dry in some areas. I'm like, I'm dehydrated. Like this is a clear sign that I'm dehydrated.
Right.
My body is asking, almost begging me for more water on a regular basis. I need to do that, and I need to give it what it needs, right?
Yes.
I need to pay attention to these red flags.
Yes.
What about shortness of breath going upstairs? You may not think anything of it. You may even laugh it off. Oh, I'm so out of shape, right?
Right.
But hey, your cardiovascular
That's true.
is not up to par. Your heart is a muscle. You walking
true.
upstairs and being out of breath at the top is a sign that your heart is having to work too hard.
That's right.
So is that not a red flag that we should look at right away?
Right.
Because
I agree. Yeah.
our heart is essential, and we need it to be as healthy as can be. We need it to pump the blood and get the fresh oxygen flowing throughout our body and our muscles. So these are things that we need to take seriously, right?
I agree. Yeah.
And then one other one I noticed as soon as I turned 30 is like, I need to start warming up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For my workouts. Like, you'll know in your 30s if you missed your warm up.
It's true.
You can't just walk in there and work out anymore, right?
You have to have that warm up buffer. Like otherwise,
Gotta add
there's a
the buffer.
price to pay after. Yeah.
Totally.
I noticed the same thing.
You know?
I do. Yes. Yes. And so, what about the 40s?
Okay, so I'm not 40s yet, but I'm talking on behalf of my clients that I've trained and family members that I see have some of these red flags, because in your 40s, the pain from these body compensations can become the norm.
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's what's really scary about that, because you can just blow it off and put it under the rug and say, well, I have bad knees and that's just the way it is. Or I have bad knees, so can't walk upstairs anymore. Well, my mom has bad knees, so it's hereditary. It's easy to say that and make that an excuse to not do anything about it.
That's what happens. That's I think the danger
Yeah.
is when we accept it.
Yeah.
We felt it in our 20s, we felt it a little more in our 30s, and now we really feel it in our 40s, but we see someone in our family, and then it can lead to an excuse if we're not aware of what's happening. So we're trying to bring awareness that, hey, this is not something to just accept, but you can make the change.
Absolutely.
So I love that, the 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, lack of mobility is another one in the 40s.
Oh, wow.
You notice a lot of people will not be able to lift their arms up over their head and behind their ears without pain, without tightness, without their neck, crunching up and their shoulders crunching up. There's still hope if you have lack of mobility and aches and pains, even if you feel like you have bad knees or bad hips. There are ways to fix it through corrective exercise and through healthy habits. So that is the hope there. A couple other ones I wanted to mention are high blood pressure in your 40s. I mean, you may think, oh, I'm still young. Maybe I'll just take a pill and it'll be fine. But and you can take medication, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the medication, but you have to look at the underlying issue. Why is your blood pressure high? Why is your cholesterol high? Does it have something to do with how you're eating? Does it have something to do with the lack of movement in your daily activity? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. And then one more I wanted to mention, because I don't know if a lot of us think about this, but chest breathing, like only breathing from up here and from the chest and being in that fight or flight mode.
Yes.
When you may not even realize it. You may not think like, oh, I don't think I'm anxious and stressed all the time. But the way you're breathing and handling stressors or distractions in your life can make a huge difference. Well, that's something that can be corrected through deep breathing exercises. So there's definitely hope there, but definitely red flags to look for. You can put your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly and breathe and see which one moves more and see which one moves first. And that's a good way to see if you're a chest breather or a belly breather and want to become more belly breathers, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s. That's something that we can learn to correct right now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 50s and your 60s. At this point, all those little imbalances and red flags, well, they can lead to an unexpected health crisis.
Yes.
And I say unexpected, but if you have body awareness, then it is almost like it probably will happen if you haven't gone decades with brushing off the red flags.
Sure.
It can turn into a health crisis, but there is still hope there.
There is still
but
hope,
just some things to look for, like sleep apnea or not being able to breathe when you sleep, ankle swelling, dry ankles are a sign that the blood, you don't have good blood circulation and blood flow. High cholesterol, which we've mentioned. 80% of heart disease is preventable, and that's actually the number one killer of people in this age group. And so thank God that it's 80% of it is preventable. That we can look at these red flags and we can begin to reverse them through healthy habits and through healthy living. So there is hope there. Your body can do amazing things.
It really can.
I mean, it can restore itself.
Thank God for that. Yeah.
But it's going to take intentional work on our part. It's going to take prioritizing on our part. We can't just lay on the bed and our body will restore itself. I mean, I guess as you sleep, your body restores itself and everything. But as you make those intentional, healthy choices daily, your body can begin to restore itself, and you can begin to gain mobility in the places where you're lacking. You can begin to breathe easier and better. You can begin to take long walks without it having to be a struggle. So get help. If you're in this place right now, if you're in a health crisis or something is affecting your daily life, it is time to seek help. It doesn't always have to be expensive.
That's right.
It doesn't always have to be going to a doctor, although it might mean going to a doctor, but it could mean hiring a coach or a trainer or a physical therapist or having a friend help you with those, just getting in those basic needs.
Yes.
Right?
So good.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned so much, and I hope that this first part of this series of prioritizing our health has really brought some clarity and clarification that with a few easy things of being proactive, not reactive, acting intentionally and not waiting for motivation, that can be huge factors to preventing a health crisis.
Yeah.
But if you are in a health crisis, there is hope for you. Like Erin said, it is reversible. You can work with your physician, and we highly recommend, anytime before you start any major changes, check with your doctor on that. But there is hope. And part 2 of this conversation, we're going to dive into just some of the barriers that women face and some things that we can do to get our health back on track. So you don't want to miss that. Join us for part 2. But until then, follow Erin on her Instagram. She's got great information there, motivation and encouragement for the days when you're waning. And you can follow her at roc_solid_fitness.
Yep.
So join us next time. Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Bye.